Hello everybody, I'm here with my friend Gary. Hello Gary.
Hello Karen, yeah, it's been a long time, hasn't it? I mean,
Yes.
a lot has happened, like, you know, we've got Christmas and New Year, which is a load of old rubbish, like, I just end up going away, like, you know, I can't stay around.
Where did you go then?
People. I went to Great Yarmouth for Christmas for a week.
On your own?
No, with a geezer from the charity, like Keith, me and him went, and then I went to Bristol, like, for New Year, so I had a week up in Great Yarmouth and come back on the 27th, and then on New Year's Eve, like, I went down to Bristol for about 2 or 3 days, which I had a great time, like, with Sam and Annabelle, my goddaughter. Yeah, I had a great time, and we'll get it all over, like, you know, I mean, it starts earlier and earlier, doesn't it? Like, I mean, you know, it's a bit ridiculous.
I think the tree lights around here started going up on the 1st of November.
Yeah, even before Guy Fawkes, like, even around Halloween, like, you go down sort of like Harvey Nichols and Harrods and places like that, already sort of like shop fitting all the blinking Christmas decorations. It's absolutely ridiculous. It really is.
It's too much money. What, do they think we're going to spend more money? Stupid people.
Yeah, that's what I mean, just commercialised rubbish, isn't it? I mean, I'll give all my great nephews, like, and niece and goddaughter, like, a little bit of money, like, you know, but it's just, I don't know, it's changed from when I was a kid. I don't know, it's just completely commercialised capitalist bullcrap now.
Yeah, because then you got an orange, didn't you?
Yeah.
Oh, look, I've got an orange.
My mum said to me when she was a little girl, like, in the Second World War, those who get an orange,
yeah,
an orange, like, an apple, a banana, not a banana, like, it would go off. What else would you do? She used to get, like, maybe one little thing, like, you know, maybe a little toy or something like that. You know, she was lucky, but no one could afford it.
That's probably because they didn't have any money, did they?
Yeah, my mate bought his son, like, a couple of years ago. But he managed to do it, like, he's on Universal Credit and Pip. He bought him, like, a phone for about £1,800. You know, it's just ridiculous now. It's just got completely.
Some of those computer things, they're hundreds and hundreds of pounds. Like, why would you want to spend that on your kids for Christmas? That much money?
I know, yeah, it's just crazy, isn't it? I'm glad I haven't got any beating kids because of the.
You'd be broke, Gary. That's what that would mean. You'd be broke.
Well, the thing is, like, I've probably been the worst dad ever, like, because I know what's going on in the world. They would think, oh, he's a right old skin to him, but I know it's sort of like the commercialisation of everything, and like, I mean, I remember a video what Dave Murphy made, and he turned around and said when he lived in New York, like, and he was sitting at a traffic lights in his Ferrari. That's what made him sort of like think about things in a different way. And he said he noticed, like, the people were looking at the car and not at him. So it's all external, isn't it? I mean, really, we're meant to shine.
I know, but they're saying that we don't watch the adverts, but they plough those things on. There's a few different types: death, food.
Everything is external, isn't it? It's not internal. It's like, look at me, like, I've got a Ferrari. Look at me, I've got this gigantic house. Look at me, I've got this, I've got that, the other. And you know, when you're like us, you're almost like a fish out of water because you can see all this rubbish so clearly. But unfortunately,
we're going to talk about more rubbish now, aren't we? I've got a picture up of Trump and the president of Venezuela. So, what's your thoughts on that one, Gary?
Well, I just think it's similar things to sort of like Iraq, sort of like Afghanistan, and all these other places that sort of like that. You know,
why doesn't he do that to Russia at the Bering Straits? Take over Russia. He's only 60 miles from them there.
I mean, you're not going to hear it on mainstream TV, but I found out that sort of like there was some Chinese warships off the coast, and apparently Venezuela owed them like a hell of a lot of money, like for gold reserves or something.
Well, I heard they've got a really good oil reserve, so it's the oil they want. They want the oil.
It's all very fishy. I mean, you know, it's like Saddam Hussein, like, was in the good of his gold.
And then someone said when the president they captured him, he was just waving, like, putting his hand up, as if you'd be doing that if you'd just been sort of arrested by Trump. I don't see that being right. How could he be waving at everyone like, oh, well, I'm going now, bye? He's just lost his presidency to Trump.
Yeah, but they're probably...
His whole country has been taken
anyway.
over, but you know what they've done? Remember they told us it was the Russians and that they were bad people? And what has Trump done? He's done exactly the same thing that they've just spent the last 5 years moaning at Putin about.
Yeah.
And Putin did
they're all sort of like...
Ukraine, isn't it? Ukraine. So they've moaned all those years about Putin and then done the very same thing. And I saw this video and this person said, Trump was saying, I'm a peaceful man, I'm a peaceful man, I'm a peaceful man. And then he took Venezuela, not a peaceful, well, the Trump badge with, oh yes, with the Roman eagle there on his platform, the single eagle they have on the presidential seal. It's Roman. Yeah. What right does he have to take over Venezuela when they've just been moaning at Putin and saying that they're going to go to war and cutting him off and everything? You know, he can't join the Olympics. We should chuck America out of the Olympics now.
But you know the strangest thing is, like, you know, it's crazy really when you think all these countries, like they're sovereign countries, and America can just go in there and just take them over with no recourse. And you can see why they're so hated, like, by all these different countries. Because
you never listen to them because they've just spent years. We've had news after news, story after story about Putin and Ukraine, and Trump does the same thing.
No different. That's right. You've heard about what sort
But that's because they all work together, Gary, really. Putin and Trump are best friends. They're in the same thing.
You know, Crimea being taken back over, and, like, you know, what's happening, like, in Ukraine and one thing another, and then you know, straight away blinking Trump goes into Venezuela just like a sovereign country.
Cord, do you know something? Cord, you can't see it. I'm just going to move it across. There's a picture here of the president of Venezuela, and he looks like Saddam Hussein. He looks just like Saddam Hussein.
You know, I was thinking about something, Karen. Like,
in that picture,
you know,
he does.
You're very good. You're very good at this sort of like face technology and all that. You should concentrate, like, on a lot of these crisis actors, because, you know, I see it all the time. When you see these events, like, you know, you see the same crisis actors at all these different events. It's so blinking obvious. And when one of them, when they got caught out once, they turned around and said, oh, this guy here, like, was at sort of like, you know, whether it was a Boston booming or Sandy Hook or whatever, why be using? They turned around and said, oh, because the general public are being too stressed out to be able to talk. Well, that's absolute blinking rubbish. I mean, so what you're saying is we don't know what's real and what's real and what's fake.
Well, I have to say, Gary, looking at this picture here with the presidential seal and the eagle on, and then he's got a flag behind him with an eagle on the top. Roman.
If they use crisis actors for every event, how do we know any of it is real?
And also, don't forget, so people change the names, but one before, if they have decided that that's the way it is, and you say it didn't happen, you get a strike and all that. They follow. You can't have your own voice. You can't say, I don't like this. I don't think it happened. That'll get you a strike.
Yeah. I mean,
do you know what needs to happen? You know, I don't think he's a real person somehow. I just think it's a cartoon. But that thing needs to be hung, drawn and quartered, I think. It needs to go to prison. You cannot stand there saying how peaceful you are. You cannot stand there saying what a bad person Putin is, and then you do the very same thing yourself.
Exactly. And why are more people picking up on it? You know, I mean, obviously mainstream, you're not going to get it, but other people should pick up on it. You know, he's saying he's going into a sovereign country and taking it over for not the reason, because it's all cloak and dagger, isn't it? Smoke and mirrors.
1 second. Should we just have a look and see what flag Venezuela's got? Hang on, we're going to look. Hang on, 1 second. We went and had a look. No, it does have lines on it, so it's part of the Union Jack, I think. But I mean, Saddam Hussein would probably have been in his 80s now, couldn't it? Because the Gulf thing happened 20 years ago. He had to be in his 60s then. This guy can't be in, but he sure does look like Saddam Hussein. It's probably his brother or something, or cousin. So tell me what's actually happened in this then. Tell me what's actually happened. So he's taken over.
Well, he's taken over, right, and apparently he's taken over all the oil fields, but there's a lot of mineral reserves there apparently, which China supposedly are sort of like owed. There's a lot of sort of like gold and silver over there, and apparently they're owed that, which I haven't seen on any mainstream channel. I mean, but I've looked into it.
So what does that mean? Are the people put into martial law?
Yeah, I think I should imagine.
That is disgusting. Come on, it's disgusting. What right do they have to do that? Do you know what? I put a video out a couple of days ago. This man was running from a hospital. He said, they're trying to take my organs. The police took him. They thought that maybe he was a bit upset with what had happened to him because he'd been in some accident. They thought that, but he said, no, there's other people waiting in there. So a couple of hours later, some policemen went in there. They found 5 people on gurneys waiting to have their organs taken out, and they were alive. And what had happened to his was, his case had been turned from okay to almost, well, he's terminal, whatever it is. I can't remember the word they used. Anyway, and they found 5 fridges that weren't registered behind a false wall. I think Trump needs to deal with his own country, not anybody else's.
Well, they're just all puppets, aren't they? All of them. So, you know.
Do you want me to play you that little video? It's only a couple of minutes long. I'll stop the video. I'll play it to you just so you can hear it.
Shocking news. A 42-year-old mechanic escaped from a hospital in the northern United States in a state of panic, shouting, "They want to take my organs." At first, police believed he was delirious after a minor accident, but 2 hours later, a raid changed everything. The man, Mark Delcourt, was admitted for a minor injury, but his file had been altered to irrecoverable, and he was moved to a technical/maintenance wing. The doors were locked. The cameras were turned away. Mark heard 2 people whispering, "No family, we start tonight." In panic, he ripped out his IV, crawled into a ventilation duct, and escaped. Police thought he was still panicking, but Mark insisted there are more people alive in there. At 0047, a special tactical unit raided the basement. They found 4 patients strapped down, one lying on a table next to a tray of surgical tools stained with dried blood. Behind a false wall, they discovered a secret room containing 6 unregistered medical refrigerators and 28 files marked with a red X. The American public is in shock. A hospital, supposedly the safest place, suddenly appears to be the most dangerous for patients without family by their side.
So I've just played to Gary that video of the hospital. So I'll probably just put it into the video just to say that he needs to deal with things at home rather than worrying about Venezuela. But what were you going to say, Gary?
I was going to say, you know, this has been a topic like for a long time, hasn't it? With people just disappearing. They go into sort of like, they go into hospitals like for minor operations, and then they're never bloody seen again. You know, you've got to ask yourself, you know, this organ harvesting and whatever, like, you know, is there any truth in it? And I think there probably is. I'll tell you something, Karen. It was like someone done a survey on like. All the sort
oh my God, sorry, I've just seen this thing. It says, after Venezuela, Trump warns Colombia and Mexico could be next.
Yeah, Colombia, Cuba.
If you can't see, this is totalitarianism. It's taking over the world, which is what they want. They're all part of the same thing.
Yeah, they're taking over the world. So the thing is, you know, Cuba will be next, like Colombia. Because you've got to remember, like, all the drugs that come out of Colombia, like, it's not cocaine place in the world, isn't it?
I think he needs to deal with his hospitals.
Yeah, well, you know something.
I wonder if he said anything, Gary. I wonder if he said anything about the hospital one.
No,
it's not the only one.
But someone do you know, like all the McDonald's restaurants in the world and all the meat that's consumed. They can't work out, like, someone done a survey, and there's not enough cattle being slaughtered, like, for all the meat. Where's all the meat come from? You know, you do wonder. I'm not talking about, you know, I'm not saying cannibalism.
People have said it's human meat.
Is it made in sort of like a factory cloned or something? But you do wonder, like, where everything comes from. You know, I've always thought this, you know, more figures and statistics, and you think, where does everything come from? Where does everything come from? Like, is is everything real? Is like, have they been making like fake meat for? I mean, you know, I'm vegan, like. Well, I eat some fake meat, and I tell you what, you wouldn't see the difference between that and proper meat. But what do I know what I'm eating? That's why I don't eat much of it anymore. Where do we know where all this stuff comes from, Karen? You know, if they just walk in a McDonald's, like, or Kentucky Fried Chicken, buy it, they don't think deep enough about things. Where's all this come from? You know? Is it made in a lab? Have they got like labs underground where they sort of like they can sort of like clone bloody animals to just for the meat and whatever, and not have the actual animal? I don't know. It's very, very, very strange how there's so much meat in the world. And like I said, someone has done a survey on it, and there's not enough. He's done a statistics on a particular country, and there wasn't enough. Being slaughtered. There wasn't enough animals being slaughtered for the amount of sort of food that was being consumed. So where's it? We're not saying it's human beings, but we just don't know, do we?
Can I ask you something? What was the reason? What was the reason that Trump went into Venezuela?
Well, it's probably it's all, isn't it? Obviously, it's all. It's a multitude of things. It's all minerals.
So what did they do for him to invade, though? Because they've got to have done something they didn't like.
Does he need a reason?
Do you know what? I really hope he is the last president, and then we get rid of them.
I hope a lot of them go, yeah.
Because I've done this bit about our last election. I looked up some areas, and basically 20% of the people voted in the area, in their, you know, whatever they are, you know, the counties, whatever the names. And then what it was is, in that 20%, Keir Starmer got the larger vote. But he didn't get a majority, did he? He got a minority. That was a vote of no confidence, and they've said nothing. They've said absolutely nothing and carried on, and now we've got to go through the ID card thing, and now America's taken over Venezuela, supposedly.
I've never voted. The last time I voted, I think I voted once in my life in 1979 when I was 19 years old, and I never voted again because I realised how it all works, and it don't matter who's in power, does it? They all answer the same like figure.
Well, they're not elected, are they? They're selected.
They're selected, and I think.
Do you know what? It's absolutely incredible. Listen, Amy got so worried about some of the things that he was saying coming into because she knew he was going to be voted in. Every day he said something new. Every day he said he was going to do something. He's done none of it. But invaded Venezuela.
Yeah, it makes you laugh, doesn't it?
What does that mean? None of us are safe from America?
There's so many videos now about what Trump's saying, like about, you know, we're never ever going to invade any countries and all that, like, and then what do? He goes and invades. I think Venezuela's tip of the iceberg. I think loads of countries going to go into a lot of these countries, like, you know, Central American countries, like, you know, Colombia, all these places. I think that's just a start.
Another picture with the flags and 2 eagles on the top. Romans. He's a Roman.
And let's face it. There's nothing any of these countries can do. There's nothing, sir. You know. And what about all the
most of us can't go there to substantiate what's happened, can we? That's one thing. You know, I just remember that BBC film, you know, when he brings that person in and he takes him into his room and he said, we're making the news 3 years in advance. And he said, there's going to be a nuclear explosion in India. And the guy said, how can you do that? And then he worked it out and he said, oh, yeah, that's because we can't substantiate it. And then he was talking about Sputnik. He said, oh, it's just a little plastic thing. But that's going to be in a year's time or something. And it was all about making the news well in advance. That's what they do. I've been saying it for years, that they make it months in advance.
Of course they do. And of course another thing...
It's all just Dallas and Dynasty.
People believe a 2D image on a screen.
Well,
you know...
I said something the other day about the royal family, and someone said to me, well, my parents love the royal family. And I said, well, they shouldn't. They're Romans.
Well, I still meet a lot of people like that you know, you can't say anything against the royal family, you know, as far as they're concerned.
Maybe what they did was, because there's the Kaiser, no, what was he? He was the German one that caused the First World War. He was an emperor. Victoria was an empress. She was an empress of India. She was an emperor. She was a Roman. They're all Romans. But then we have a war, and then the Windsors they got their name changed into Windsor, and then everybody's forgot that they were actually ruling you different before the First World War, and it took the Second World War to finish it off. They're disgusting.
Of course, like that, it was manufactured. It was destroying a lot of the relics of Tartaria as well. Remember, because now we've still got a lot of buildings left that we know can't possibly have been built with the technology of the said day. But of course, people didn't think like us before. But, you realise now that a lot of these wars are. It's like some of the structures in Iraq, like they were fantastic. It was all built with full strong marriages. The same in Dresden. Dresden was demolished, wasn't it? And I think it's to hide a little totalitarian. It is because people start asking questions because we know these magnificent buildings. Look at any church like.
Sorry, I just changed. Gary, I just changed the picture a little bit because I just want to show that they show this Mickey found it. So it's obviously a few years ago I did the video. Shows you how much London was bombed. If you believe this picture of how many bombs hit London, it was annihilated. Where was our Air Force? Who was looking after us for that to happen?
I mean, it did actually happen because my mum was a little girl in the Second World War, and she said
someone was bombing, wasn't it? Does it mean it's the Germans or was it us? We're bombing ourselves.
We don't know. We don't know. I mean, we don't know, do we?
There were stories about people with blackouts, and they were saying, "Well, we don't see bombs. We don't hear bombs from planes. We hear explosions." That's what they said, and they were sort of doing a few sort of rallies against it. But you don't really know about that. But look at London, completely bombed. Where was the British Air Force? What, bombing Germany?
No,
and Germany's bombing us at the same. Well, maybe that's what it is. They say, right, we're passing the middle. Right, the Germans come over and bomb us, and we go over and bomb them. It was still the same outcome, the destruction of everything.
It was the V1 rockets, wasn't it? They used to fire them, and they were. Fun enough, I went with Keith, because he used to work at Duxford, like the military museum. We went to this other one up in Norfolk, like in the summertime, and they've actually got a V1 rocket up there, which is made out of sort of like fiberglass. But what these
it's
were,
really horrible, isn't it, Gary? Everything is done to play games with us. Everything.
Yeah, I mean, them V1 rockets, they were so reliable. They couldn't know where they landed. What happened was when they used to run out of fuel, they used to just go. Now,
and they made a good film about it, didn't they? They made a good film afterwards.
When we was in Great Yarmouth, there's a blue plaque on the wall which says, like, in the First World War, this is where the Hindenburg, the first place that got bombed in England, like, was this house in Great Yarmouth. Apparently, like, the people died in it, and it was a Hindenburg. So one of the Hindenburgs was like the airship, wasn't it? The airship come over and just dropped the bomb. Apparently, that's what we've been told anyway. And they said all the family in the whole of this. Next time I'm up there, I'll take a photograph of it. But it was such a long time ago now.
I think me and Mickey did Weymouth. They've got some nice buildings there. Nice old buildings.
My mate.
Gary, before we start, right? Well, I'm on the bombs of London. I need another picture now. So what are we going to talk about?
Yeah, it's very interesting. One of my mates, like, I work with a charity.
I need a picture. So what are we going to talk about?
He's 100 years old, and he was in the Second World War. He was on the Devonshire battleship, and he must be one of the last surviving members still alive. And he's told me some horrific stories. He said to me, because I went up to see him a couple of times, and he said to me that sort of like when the ship he was on, right, they were told when they was going to sort of like bomb either Hiroshima or Nagasaki, they were told to get away because they're dropping the atomic bomb. But of course, don't think atomic bombs exist. They were just carpet bombed. Nagasaki and Hiroshima was just carpet bombed. It's to keep us living in fear again, isn't it? Like, atomic bombs.
Well, they have to. I've even wondered, and I know people don't. It's just a wonder I've had when you're thinking about it. I was thinking maybe what they said to these Americans, see over there's the Germans and you've got to shoot them. And on the other side, they go to the Americans, see over there's the Germans and you've got to shoot them. We were just killing each other. It wasn't the way...
Well, this is what it is. This is what it is. I've actually spoke to it. I have to be so careful, because I've actually got military in my extended family. But if you turn around and say to a soldier, "Oh, why did you do it?" They turn around and say, "Well, I've been instructed to do it." But I said, "No, why did you do it?" And it's like they really haven't got an answer to it. Because,
yeah, but, baby, I know, but listen, my brother, right? He could have gone into probably a pilot, but what it was is he failed because they saw that they need to break you down and make you into a pack. They didn't see him as part of that.
Yeah. I mean, if
they have to break you down. So he said. So he's just in his mind. I was taking orders.
Yeah, if I was alive, sort of like say I was 20 or 22 when the Second World War happened, and I knew what I knew now, would I have known what I know now then? Who knows? But I'd have turned around and said, "Well, I ain't going to fight. I'm not going out to kill people, because people are making money out of both sides of this war anyway, and I just wouldn't do it, and I'll probably be incarcerated. They'll probably knock me out and put in a real neck or something. But I'll just turn around and say, I'll be a medic or something. I said, there's a film that I see about this guy who's in the American Army, and he wouldn't do it either. He was Jehovah's Witness or something, and he wouldn't. He was spitting his food and everything because he said he didn't want to kill people, and he became a medic. But he actually was one of the first people to get like a Purple Heart because he used to save so many people on the battlefield. Sort of like, if they got their legs blown up or whatever. But the strangest thing is, Karen, if anyone doesn't matter if they're military or anything, if you think about it deeply, some people say, well, actually it was a job, Gal. I actually do it for a living. But you're going out and killing like a fellow man. You're going to a strange country.
How do those people have a normal life afterwards when they're trained to kill people?
Well, that's why they get PTSD, isn't it?
I mean,
that's why,
maybe when you're firing out there, some of them wouldn't have known who they shot, but some people know. They saw their faces and shot them.
Exactly.
Supposedly, I don't know. Maybe they said you're dressing up as Germans today, and then the Americans shot. But I don't know. There's something so off because we've just done Chibuk. That doesn't seem to be really. And it just goes on. There's just too much not right. We're living in a game.
The funniest thing is, when I was up in Great Yarmouth Flight, I think it was Boxing Day, and Keith was ill, so I went out and I met a geezer on up there called Simon, and pubby drinks in the album, and they was doing karaoke in the afternoon. So I said, "Have you got Stop the Cavalry by Jonah Lewis? One of my favourite songs." Now, when they done a video of that, it's pretty much based on sort of like in the Somme or something in the First World War, where they stopped and played football on Christmas Day, and it's very bizarre because they stopped all fight. They stopped the fighting. And someone had a football so they had a football match like the Germans against the English then afterwards, then they picked up their guns again and started fighting. So 1 minute they're playing football together. I find these things really bizarre, I really do. And in the next minute,
it's supposed
they're picking
to be,
up their guns and they're fighting again. And you know something, I think there's a lot of people like us, Karen, now that realise, even...
Well, do you know, I've done another video, Gary. I looked it up. It's on my video. Everybody's got eagles on their jackets. The Americans, the Germans, the Russians, the English. They're all part of the same thing. Yeah. Listen, even Hitler, right, the Germans. Why would Hitler, when he wanted to be something totally different and take over the world, be flying double eagles? Just like Trump is, flying a single eagle.
We don't know,
because he was an emperor or something. And we've just worked out in history, they're lying about what happened in Germany. They just are. So they're lying about those some things, which we won't go into, but they are.
Well, it's like Colonel Gaddafi, isn't it? Colonel Gaddafi was wonderful to his people. He used to, you know, everything had been sold. He used to have free healthcare. If you weren't working, like they'd pay your rent. You know.
Do you know what that is, though? Do you know what it is, Gary? All that. It's really sad. What that is because what it was is I looked up and it said that the Russian people are quite happy because they have a sort of national health, housing, benefit. That's totalitarianism. That's the government taking over and supporting everybody in one totalitarianism. You don't have a view then. But they said they were happy. It's the same thing with what you're just talking about with Gaddafi.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, we were told, like, Gaddafi was.
Oh yeah, he was a monster, but actually, yeah, well, yeah.
He was a monster, and he was fantastic. If you speak to anyone, like, from Libya or whatever, he said that are our kind of age, they said, man, it's a lot of old rubbish. He was fantastic. He used to, like, you know, be so good to his people, but obviously, like, he had a lot of oil and minerals as well, so he had to be taken out like the rest of them. I think he didn't go along with what the sort of like New World Order wanted him to do. You see, he started doing his own little thing, and do
you know what I did though? I made a video that Saddam Hussein and him are the same person, and now he's in Venezuela. It's a joke, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, obviously it can't be because he's going to be about 80 or 90.
No, they're only models. I don't think anything's real. They make it months in advance. There's models. Supposedly, this guy, when I made my videos about him, they said, yeah, he's also like the mayor of New York in whatever it was, say 2010, whenever it was. They're like, oh my God, so that's a crisis actor.
Yeah, that's what you should do, you know.
He looks very like Saddam Hussein. The only thing is, he doesn't have didn't Saddam Hussein have more hair on him, on his face?
They do look the same, Karen, don't they? That's the thing. They look. I know when I go back to Egypt, I see little people over here that look Saddam Hussein. I saw a bloke one day, and I thought, my God, he could have been if he wanted to have a double, like you know, 40 years ago, he could have used this bloke. He was like. That little tash, you know.
Well, I couldn't believe it when I did the video and they look very alike. They shouldn't look alike at all. But they're all related, aren't they? Because I watched this video of this girl. She worked out that everybody of the politricks in America come from a royal relative here. I told you they were royalty. They're royalty, but they just, instead of having a royal family, they use act dead. It's all done through actors.
You'd be surprised, like how many cousins and third cousins and whatnot. You got
even Obama's related. He might be the 14th cousin now, but he's still related to the person who brought the blood, the royal blood.
Yeah, they're all. Do you know something? You'd be surprised. A lot of people in the acting fraternity, like they're all related. It's amazing. You know, someone done something like Brad Pitt is like third cousin to sort of like George Bush and. They're all related. They're all selected when they're very young.
Cool. Can I just say something? I know you can't see it, but I was still looking at. Sorry, Saddam Gaddafi. There's a picture of him here when he's much younger, and there's a picture of him there. I'm telling you, they're not the same man. That is not the same man as him. He's got a completely different nose. It says it's when he's younger. He's probably say in his late 30s, early 40s. That is a different man. You can see it. It's a different man.
They all have doubles, don't they? All of them.
Look at him there. He's got a very refined nose, whereas Gaddafi's got quite a big nose. Oh, they're sick. Should we talk about something else now? Hang on, I'm just going to stop a second. I think Gary and I are watching the same programme. I kind of like this one with Alaska, and they help each other build houses, yeah?
Yeah, it's called Alaska. Every sort of like Monday, one of my friends comes round from the charity, and I make a curry, and we watch this series called Alaska Homestead Rescue, and I really get some good ideas off it because there's this guy called Marty Rainey, and basically he's an absolute genius, and what they do, there's these people living completely off grid, and I'll get so many ideas from this program. It's unbelievable because they have to be completely self-sufficient. Like they sort of like drill into the ground to find water. The guy had a running stream.
Has he got a white moustache and a hat?
Yes, he wears that hat all
He's
the
on
time.
the pictures now. Yeah, I watched that one.
Yeah, well, the thing is, he actually built a turbine, a water turbine, for these homesteaders, like, you know, and they got constant electricity forever. And it's really great to sort of like watch these programs. When people turn around and say, "Oh, you can't get completely out of the system," I beg to differ. These people from my places, right in the middle of nowhere, they get them for peanuts.
It is pretty cold there, though, when it's snowy.
It's freezing. Where he lives, he said like it's winter 9 months of the year.
Yeah, they can only build for so many months, can't they? Because of the weather.
They what?
They can only build or do certain things for so many months of the year because of the weather.
This is another problem. You know, it all depends what part of Alaska you're at. Or he also works in the main United States as well. Like, you know, a lot of these homesteaders, they completely off grid, and they literally live in the middle of nowhere. Like, you know, the next nearest sort of like cabin might be sort of
it's like old America. It's like what you would imagine old America to have been like. You know, like when they were going over there with the horses and the carts and supposedly the Indians.
Yeah.
This is how you would imagine that they would have lived, almost.
And I would love to sort of like, you know, with that lifestyle. You know, a lot of these people have given up everything. I've seen it where people, they've had fantastic jobs like in, you know, city stockbrokers and whatever, and they've given it everything up, and they've moved in the middle of nowhere. But it's not an easy. It's a hard life because literally, you know, it's continuous.
Yeah, because sometimes they make little bridges and they're in the middle of nowhere. They've got to take the stuff out there and make the bridge, and it's got to last.
Yeah, they make bridges like temporary, permanent kind of things, but it's great to see, you know, because we're
also they go and get their food. Like they just go, like it gets ordered, and then they go and pick it up.
Well, not only that, most of them grow it as well. They have greenhouses. His daughter builds fantastic greenhouses for these people, and they grow their own food. I mean, it would be difficult for me, like being vegan, because most of them like are carnivores, so they're sort of like shooting animals, like, and then skinning them and cooking them up and making sort of like beef jerky and other. So it would be hard for me because I'd have to live literally off of vegetables, and I'm wondering like whether there'd be enough food available for me, you know, because it seems like the vegetable part of it is very sparse, like, Karen, because they build these greenhouses, but you know they turn around and say like, you know, oh, you're gonna be self-sufficient and all that. I can't see it. It'd have to be gigantic for you to be self-sufficient. You know, and you're growing all your own veg. It'd have to be much bigger than the ones I see. But
well, we can't go there and see it. They make loads of programs for us. Maybe it's a program, but he's just an actor rather than a. Yeah, how do you know? You just don't know, do you?
No. Oh no, this is.
I do watch that, and their house. The other thing that shocks me, the only thing that shocks me really, is that they're just building little wooden shacks, and yet it's very cold there.
Yeah, well, they literally
everything's in wood and plasterboard. How does that work when it's so cold?
But they have like open stove, they have stoves, like, you know. And he's one part of his house burnt down like a few years ago, and he had to rebuild it. So yeah, that's the only problem. You know, everything's made out of pretty much wood. They do use some stones as well.
So nothing's hardy, is it? It's not going to remain for many years because it's not hardy enough. But how would they get bricks out there?
It's very complicated the way they live, because basically they have to rely on very dodgy foundations. Very often they just sort of like get a sort of like a tree, bang it into the ground like a few meters, like level it out, and then build up on top of that. They always have it sort of like raised off the ground because obviously a lot of flooding happens. But
well, I was going to say something. That's the other thing they don't worry about is how close they are to water, and you think. A lot of water melts. They're quite close to the water, some of the houses.
They do get a lot of sort of like water seepage underneath, and they get a lot of sinkage. And I think to myself, you know, you could get one of them places, and I'm not sure, unless you bedrock, and you built on bedrock, which most of them don't seem to, they seem to use this strange sort of like contraption where it's sort of like this concrete pillar with sort of like rebar that goes out in different directions, almost like the Sputnik. Almost like the fake Sputnik that never went to space. So basically, it stops it from sinking down. But I thought to myself, all the building work, I actually lived in a flat once that had sinkage. It wasn't my flat, but the block next door had sinkage. When all the brickwork come away, where literally they was pinning it, and it was, my stepfather said to me when he was alive, he said to me, "Gal, I'd sell your flat if I was you." I said, "Why is that one of them flats?" He said, because what happens is that the tree roots come through, and because you bought that flat off the council, you're going to have to pay for your own, like, your own underpinning and all that. It's going to cost you a fortune. I did. I ended up selling it to a bloke. I was lucky, really, because when I sold that place, I think about 1992 or 93 or whatever it was, like, you didn't have to tell... it's illegal now. You have to explain everything. It's like if you're in a flood zone over here, if you're in a flood zone, your place gets flooded, you have to say that. You have to say, "Oh, I've been flooded 2 years ago." If you don't, you can get prosecuted. But in those days, you didn't have to do it. So the bloke bought my flat, like, and I thought, "Poor sod, like." I did feel quite guilty, actually. I thought, you know, I hope he sort of like don't come to my block. He needs underpinning because he's got to pay his. You've heard about all this stuff with the cladding, like, you know, people that have bought flats with the council, their share of the cladding is like 70 grand or 90 grand or whatever. You know, it's like really a strange thing. Like, you know, everyone needs to buy their council flats over here. Now they realise the worst thing they've ever done because they have to stump up their share of any damage. But back to this homestead rescue, I mean, I do like it, but like you said, it's an ongoing thing. You're never gonna wake up in the morning and think, "I've got nothing to do today." You know, you're always gonna have stuff to do because that's the way they live. But like you said, the only thing I wouldn't like is if you're actually in Alaska and not in central United States. Like, there was one the other day that was in Montana. That wasn't too bad. If you're in Alaska, you get about 7, 8, 9 months of bleeding bad weather. You know, and I would not live like that.
Amazing that it's actually on the television then, really. But listen, I'm going to change the subject now because what it was is I can't remember who came in my room and they saw a book up there and they said, "Oh, you're into Tim Peake, are you?" I said, "No." Explain what we did, Gary. There it is.
Well,
it's this book here, Ask an Astronaut. That's the book. He's written a few goddamn books, would you believe?
Yeah. Well, a few years ago, I walked past a charity shop and I seen this book called Ask an Astronaut with Tim Peake in it, and I thought, right, next time I go down to Karen's lot, I'm going to let her have that, and I'm going to, yes, okay, I'm going to ask an astronaut. But basically, I literally didn't ask Karen, I literally demolished his book. As we were going through it, like, I said, yeah, this can't happen, like, because of this reason, this can't happen like that, and I said, at the end of the podcast, I turned around and said, I've got an open invitation. If Tim Peake want to sit on mainstream TV with the screen, I'm fine. I'm quite happy to go on. Of course, like all the other things that we've ever done, they don't do it. They're never going to do it.
Yeah, Gary marked all the pages in the book so that we went through the book of all the things that he found a problem with. Well, the best things that he found a problem with. There's the whole book's a problem, isn't it?
If you was to build something, right, and you was an electrician making that leading space shuttle, right, it's the worst electrician that God ever made on this earth.
Let's go to the wires.
Why would you work outside? Why would you have to do stuff outside?
Gary, you and I know when we go in an aeroplane, do we see wires everywhere? No. They're all behind the things in the ceiling and under the floor. There's no way they'd have all those wires out. You imagine, oh dear, I've just stood and broke that wire. Oh God, we're now descending to Earth. You would never leave the wires there. They could do dangerous things in there by accident.
I'm thinking, well, there was so much, wasn't it? We thought about, imagine, like, I mean, no disrespect, one of my mates an issue, like, and we don't know how to sort of, like, approach it. Can you imagine, like, when they're up there months on end and not without have a proper wash? Little things like that you just think of and think, it's impossible. Everyone would end up stinking. They would end up stinking. And they've made so many mistakes, like, where they've dropped things where it's meant to be zero gravity and it ends up dropping on the floor and they forgot to empty it out. I mean, if anyone's still alive today, well, my mate does, My mate says, "Oh no, Gal, you can see it in the sky go over." And it don't matter. Some people, Cal, it doesn't matter what evidence you show them. Doesn't matter what evidence you show them. It don't, there's a famous story about because that was my thing, isn't it? The fake moon landings. Because I was 9 years old at the time when it happened. I remember it as clear as a bell. But there was a professor that came around and said if he met Neil Armstrong in a pub or a restaurant, and Neil Armstrong personally told him, "No, I never went to the moon," he would still believe he did. If a professor's going to think like that, what chance you got? It's amazing
a lot of
how
people
they can
don't believe. Do you know what? How
they can brainwash people. They can brainwash
Gary,
people.
I've got this video, right? This guy's explaining that if we could go to the moon in 1966 on such a small computer chip.
1969 it was, yeah.
On such a small computer chip, 10 years on, we would have gone to Mars. 10 years on, because we would have moved so much further forward. Technically, we'd be able to go to other places and on. He said none of it's happened, so it tells you we've never been.
It's impossible because no one's ever got through the firmament.
Well, they say that now. They say we've only ever been to low Earth orbit. That low Earth orbit could be just above the clouds.
When a professor or a lecturer takes me into a laboratory and shows me, it's my number one proof, Karen. It's my number one. It's never been disputed. Like I was the second person in history down at Hyde Park when I used to have my little chamber, the little chamber like to prove like the gas pressure. The gas pressure can't live next to a vacuum without solid separation. Now, when someone takes me into a laboratory and shows me how a gas pressure lives next to a vacuum without solid separation, I'll never say another word. It's never going to happen because, listen, when we used to be down Hyde Park, like, remember when I used to take my vacuum chamber, like, down there? It was only just down the road, like, Imperial College was about half a mile away. Why didn't one of the professors, one of the science, one of the professors, like, from science, like, come up there and said to me, "You're talking rubbish, son. I'll tell you how. Now, they either know it, and they don't get out of their brain, or the indoctrination level for them is so great that the part of their brain that will give them common sense isn't there anymore. Because I'll tell you what, when I speak to some of these people, I'm sorry to say, some of them...
I know, Gary, I know what you mean. Listen, there's sometimes I've told my mum and shown my mum things, and I said, "Look, Mum, that's the same person," and she just can't see it. She just can't see it. And someone else says, "Wicked, that's absolutely spot on," in the comments, and my mum can't see it, or she doesn't want to see it.
See, what a professor would say about, an astrophysicist would say to me, "No, what it is, Phil, it's the fact like the gravity is pulling the air towards the Earth, like, and it gets thinner and thinner and thinner. You know, but we know that's all rubbish. Gravity is rubbish. We know that sort of like you cannot have a gas pressure living next to a vacuum. Because if you got a sort of like aerosol can and you sort of like spray it into a room, it's gonna fill a void. If you have it in a chamber, it's gonna fill that chamber and be contained in that chamber. We don't know what this place is covered in, but we've got some kind of covering. We have to. I mean, there's no, and like I said, when a professor or a lecturer shows me how that's done, I'll never see. It's my number one proof. It's not other people. Water always being flat. Yes, that is another proof. But my number one proof is gas pressure living next to a vacuum without solid separation. And until someone shows me how that can be done in laboratory conditions, I'm never going to rest my case until the day the good Lord calls me, because I know that it's a part of garbage.
Gary,
I know this
Gary, there's no way they can be up there with all those wires like that. Absolutely, it's not even earthed. They get electrocuted just walking past the wires.
It's just like that record, like science may be the final frontier, but it's made in the Hollywood basement. The Red Hot Chili Peppers. They tell you the truth in plain sight.
They were telling the truth then.
Yeah. So the thing is, Karen, like, you know, they just hope.
Look at that. I mean, it's just ridiculous if you think these people are floating around in all those wires.
I just find it's like my comedy hour. You know, I watch all these sort of like space, all these rockets go up and all that, and I just know they're not going anywhere. They're going in if Japan doing it, China's
If you
doing
had
it.
to get in an aeroplane that looked like that, you wouldn't get in, would you?
The thing is, when people say to me like, "How did they do it?" I said, "You'd be surprised." It's like, if people ever watch Penn and Teller,
This was all to
like
make the fake globe, don't forget, because they showed a round thing out the window. That's what this was about.
It's a magician's trick. People say,
if we've never been to the moon, people need to question, well, they can't be telling the truth then.
See, I see them picked up like by a helicopter when they landed like the lunar capsule. Yeah, they did. It drops out of a high altitude plane. You know, it's all so simple. It's like Penn and Teller like always said. The easiest answer is probably the one that it is. And like it's a magician's trick. When they go up, they take off, like they stay up there. Everyone goes home. They come back down again. Well,
isn't that why the Bermuda Triangle's there, so that nobody wants to go in there, and that's where bits of the rocket fall down.
Precisely, because they found bits of rocket.
And guess who owns all round there? Prince Charles. Oh no, sorry, King Charles.
Yeah, you know. They've had like divers go down. They thought, oh, blimey, I found a bit of a Saturn V rocket. What's that doing there? You know, so basically, it's easier than what you think. I mean, people were fooled in 1969. I wasn't fooled. I wasn't the only one, Karen. There was loads of people like me. There was loads of people like me that weren't fooled. Like I said, I've got heroes of mine, like Ralph Bernal. He was the one that done the vacuum.
That's how it's done. Excellent. This person's made a video and they're saying they're upside down and he's saying they're on a green screen. That's it. That's exactly it.
It's all so simple because it's like a dismantling like of all their bullshit. Now I just do it so easily. But like I said, some people just watch a two-dimensional image on a screen light and think it's reality, and I find it very amusing.
My favourite one is when I find them when they're zigging in and out. You know, the colours, they're like yellow, red, blue, and they're like the whole thing is blurring. I think that is because it's superimposed in. You just have to wait. You can actually sometimes see the marks on the people. They have to have those marks when they're doing, you know, when Michael Jackson did it, he had to have marks. There had to be marks on the picture so that he moves exactly the same way as on the picture. It's hit. Do you know what I mean? They fit a fake thing into what you think is a real thing, but it's not. There's no way I can believe this is real.
I used to work with my uncle in 1981, and I was taught long before other people were doing it. Like I told my uncle, I said, "You know, we never bit of the moon bill." And he just thought I was bonkers. He thought I was, back then,
it's really awful, isn't it? They think you're bonkers, but actually they're bonkers.
Shall I tell you something, Karen? When I was a young lad, like when I was a kid growing up, I thought I'm mad. I've got to be mad, like because everyone else thinks differently than me, and I realise now that I wasn't mad. They're mad. It's not finding out who the mad people are in this world. It's finding out who the sane people are. That's
what connecting.
It's not finding out who's mad in this world. It's finding out who's bloody sane. That's what I found. There's not bloody many of us, and I feel sorry for people, you know, because some people.
Yeah, because they're used and abused, really, and lied to.
It's a form of abuse and control, isn't it? You know, and some people are never going to get it.
Do you know what's really sad? Children grow up with this whole thing of NASA in their brain and the ISS space station, and it's all not real, and they've given you fake history.
Everything, do you know something? Let's prove otherwise with me now. Everything's fake and let's prove otherwise. Literally, right across the board, you know, and that's how I live my life.
Well, the good thing is you and me have met each other, so we know you're not fake, and you've been sleeping on my sofa when you come here, so I know you're not fake.
Absolutely. Yeah, with little Flossie as well.
Yeah. Gary,
way,
I'm just going to stop a second, hang on. Well, Gary and I feel that it's a good time to stop now. We've been going for nearly an hour. But we like our little conversations, don't we, Gary?
That's right, and I'm still not sort of like perfect because than watching Man City play Newcastle. So I still enjoy football. I still enjoy it because I used to play football when I was
fake as well. That's blue is the colour, red is the colour. It's all to do with colours and things. And what it is what annoys me the most is we'll just use these teams. It's not the teams aren't real, but they do something like this. They say Man United won the league. They've got 4 more games to play. And whenever they play those 4 more games, they lose. They just won the league.
But you know, I look at it another way
I just
as well.
think things like that are a bit weird.
People say to me, "Who do you support?" And I said, "I don't. I just like watching good football matches because they want to support Spurs, and then your mate supports Arsenal, so it's more division, isn't it? It's more division again. What if you just say, I just like watching a good game of football, and leave it at that, and don't support any bloody team because it's all rubbish anyway? I mean, they're overpaid. They're overpaid idiots. I'll give you a little story. Just recently, within the last week or so, there's a famous footballer called, he used to play for England and Spurs, Martin Shivers. Now, I met his son many years ago, and you know, bless him. I don't know what he's going through at the moment. He was 80 years old. He passed away the other day, and his dad thought it was all wrong, like, you know, the way the wage structure is, because they were paid good money, like, in their day compared to like working class people. But in relative terms, it's next to nothing. I'll give you a little example. One of the guys that under my care, like, he's very good on statistics, and we did a relative statistics check on George Best in 1968, when he's probably sort of like the 5th best player in the world after Eusebio and Pelé and a couple of others. He was earning £1,000 a week, like, for Man United, which, if you do a relative term back to now, it's equivalent to 70 grand a week. But 70 grand a week, you probably get people in a second division like get paid more than that. You know, I mean, some of these footballers now, they're on like 300 or 400 grand a week.
It's ridiculous, but it's obviously, do you know what it probably is? Money laundering.
Do you know? I'm wondering, like, Karen, right, whether they actually do get paid that money, or they're told they're told to say they get paid that amount of money.
Well, they probably get given a little corporation, a little business, a little corporation. They get given that. Probably get given a house. Then they're on all the adverts, so they get all the goods and the money. Yeah, probably.
I'd like to meet a footballer and say to him, you know, you said when he was working, like, he was earning like 350 grand a week. He might turn around and say to me, well, actually, Gal, I wasn't. We were told to say that because it's keeping people like you and Joe Bloggs down the street with a carrot in front of their nose to carry on working and all that. I was actually paid like this amount of money. Because I don't know any footballers, but, you know, it seems very... I don't know what they've leave anymore. I really don't.
Well, nothing's the way you think it is. But are we going to finish, or do you want to carry on?
No. One last thing I've got to say is, like, that bloke I was telling you about was 100 years old. He was a lifelong accountant. When I told him how much these footballers like earn, he could hardly believe it. I said, yeah, some of them standing on like 350, 400 grand a week. Like, it's all my gold. You know, and it just seems
what can you do with that money? Buy some island?
Well, let's hope some of them, Karen, do things for charity, like, without their name being mentioned. I really hope so. Anyway, it's been nice talking to you. It's been a long time, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has been a little while, but we can say goodbye off air, but that's okay too. Yeah. But thank you for having all these discussions. I'm really shocked about Trump going in, really. I know I heard it, but it's just when you think about it, what is he doing? How can the world allow him? He should be banned from things. He should be banned from the United Nations. He should be banned from the Olympics. He should be banned from things, but he won't be because he's all part of the game.
Exactly.
And we're just the little pawns.
That's right, and that's what we said at the start of this conversation. You know, when Putin does it, like, you know, we're everyone's saying, oh, he's gone into Crimea, won't we? Another, Ukraine.
Oh, he's a dirty pig. He's a dirty pig. He's an evil man. Evil man. My mum thinks he's evil. Hasn't said a word about Venezuela, though. She'll find a reason that Trump can go in there. My mum just believes in the system. It's probably not her fault, but our parents were quite asleep, weren't they, really?
Well, I mean, the older generation, like, bless them, it's not their fault. We're probably the first generation in history, you know, and I'm in my mid-60s now, that are sort of like, I've always been this way, Karen, but I think people older than me, 20 years.
Gary, I told you there's only one church, and I told that creator at Mickey's church, and he told me I was telling the truth. There's just one religion, Holy Roman Catholics, and what are they? Romans. What it is every church you've got, evangelical, Methodist, Protestant, they baptise the baby with the Trinity, and that is Catholic.
The strangest thing is, you know, all organised religions, like they're all controlled, like they're all keeping people in control. I mean, one of my friends keeps on trying to get me to go to church, and I keep on saying to her, "My church is everywhere, love. My church is everywhere. I don't have to work for a middleman to talk to the Creator. I can talk to him direct." You know, why should I'll see one last thing before we go, Karen. I'll see a video.
Strange that you need a book to talk to them. But very quickly, before you say your bit, because we're going to finish in a moment. But in that Church of Mickey's, we did a video about it, because basically it's saying we're a Protestant church in a new Catholic way. How can that be? So they knew I was telling the truth, because their own church is doing it.
I can't get my head round these evangelical sort of like pastors like over in America that are billionaires, like, because they turn around and say to their flock, "Well, unless you give money to this church, like, you're going to go to hell," and they just believe it. And they're going around. One of them's got 2 Learjets. I saw it the other day, and I thought, how people can be brainwashed that much, like, to not
really like to be led. Not everybody does, but it's like we need to be led. Whereas we feel that we're okay. We're okay ourselves. We don't need a book.
We're sovereign beings.
We don't need a book, and we don't need to be led. We can make our own mind up. But they want. They're treating you as if you're in the army. It's like we're living in a boot camp.
They need direction, Karen, you know, and
what we're going to do now is, so they've told you everything's changing, because I told you Russia, they like living there, you know, and then what it is nobody likes America now. Now Trump's taking over the world, so are we going to hate Trump now like we hated Putin?
That's right.
It all changes. They flip it. They don't care about you. They want you in misery.
Of course they do. They want us living in fear all the time.
Yeah. Well, I remember in lockup, I was the only one on the train.
And me, I used to go around everywhere, didn't I?
Only one on it had about 10 carriages, and I was the only one on it. Gates were open, didn't have to pay. Crazy, but we're going to finish now. We'll say goodbye off air. Thanks a lot for that chat. We can't help it. We just see things differently. This is our take on it. Hopefully, it's a bit similar to your take. But anyway,
that's right.
Thanks for listening. Thank you very much, Gary.
Thank you very much, Karen. I'll see you again soon.
Thank you, chat room.
Thanks for everything.
Yeah, because this will be a hangout. This will be a hangout, Gary. So thanks, chat room. And what was your last words?
Just hello to everyone after a few months. You know, I haven't done nothing for a few months, have we?
No, we've done some good hangouts. We have. They're just a lot of them are topics, aren't they, that have been around us, and we come out to the same conclusion, though, Gary. Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much, and thank you very much for listening.